Before I get started working here this morning, I thought I'd do a quick video about the boots I wear when I'm working in the woods. I've been getting a lot of requests for that lately, especially since people have been noticing I got new boots. There have been a few people who have made some guesses in the comments on what these are. Most of those guesses have been either Wesco or Whites. We'll find out what these are. We'll talk a little bit about socks and a little bit of my latest boot drama. Years ago, I tried some of the higher end logging boots like Whites and Wescos. I liked that they were well built, but there were a couple things I didn't like about them. In the summer, it gets really hot here. It can be in the upper 90s, hundreds, and I found a lot of those well-built boots were more hot than some of the other boots I've had. They were also really heavy. I remember one time I went hunting with my grandpa. He picked up one of my boots and he was shocked. He said, "These are like boat anchors strapped to your feet. I don't know how you're able to walk in these." He was right, they were heavy. That was close to 30 years ago. I don't know if they're still the same as they were then or not. After that, I started wearing Carolina loggers. They were the classic logging boot style. They had the Vibram. We always called them Vibram. Some people call them Vibram. Vibram might be the real way, but we call them Vibram. The Vibram lug soles. The Carolinas were not built as well, but they were not as hot and not as heavy. I'd usually get maybe a year and a half out of them before they'd wear out. But I figured that was the price I had to pay for boots that were not as hot and not as heavy. I had to replace them every year or year and a half. And they weren't that expensive. But a few years ago, it got to where I couldn't get more than about 6 months out of them. They would either wear out in the stitching or I just wear a hole somewhere in the toe. I don't know if the quality of the boots dropped or if I was just becoming more hard on boots. I've always been hard on boots. Doesn't seem to matter if I take care of them or not. I just have a way of destroying them. They just weren't lasting long enough. Then I went to Hathorn boots. From what I understand, White's boots bought Hathorn. I was using what were they called? The smoke jumpers or something like that? They're very similar to these, commonly used by wildland firefighters, the ones that don't want to spend $500, $600 on a pair of boots. They were only about half that much. I heard some people say they really liked the Hawthorns, they lasted a long time, but I only got a little bit better life out of those than the original Carolinas. Maybe a year and a half. The first pair did good, but the second pair, I got less than a year out of them. The store where I got them had a 1-year warranty on them. I just took them back to the store, they exchanged some new ones. Those wore out in less than a year. I took those back and they exchanged them. I did that several times before they finally told me, "These are your last pair. We're not going to do this for you anymore." After those ones wore out, I bought a pair of these, the White's Line Scouts. That was about 10 months ago. What happened is, about 9 months into them, the sole on one of them just started falling off, just peeling away from the uppers. I took them back to the store, which was a different store, and they exchanged them for these ones. These boots, they look exactly like the Hawthorn boots I had. I think what I have here is those same Hawthorn boots with the White's name on them. I may be making all that up just based on something that I may or may not have heard right. But these are not as heavy as the more expensive ones, and I don't think they're as hot. Hopefully that first pair was just an anomaly. Maybe these ones will last better. I don't know, but I don't have high hopes for them. People have been requesting I do a boot video for a long time. One of the reasons I haven't is I just haven't been real happy with the boots I've been getting. I may have to bite the bullet and buy some of the more expensive, well-built boots. What I may do, I may go to Nick's or one of the JK or one of these boot companies, see if they can build me the boots I want. See if they can build me some lighter weight, durable boots. I don't know if that's possible or not. I think I should probably also have the type of boots that have the rough side on the outside. Most boot manufacturers put the smooth side on the outside because it looks better. There may be other reasons for it too, but actually the rough side of the leather that they put on the inside is the more durable part. Now there are some boot manufacturers that are putting the rough side on the outside, at least on the bottom part, to give us more durable boots. I may have to try that next. I've only been wearing these a short time. They're already getting chunks and gouges in them. For socks, for the last few years, I've been wearing Costco's Kirkland brand merino wool socks. And those have been okay. I would like them to be taller. They don't come up quite as high as I would like for this type of boot, but most of the time they don't slide down. One of the most annoying things in the world to me is when my socks slide down into my boots. Most of the time they don't do that. I found them to be good in hot and cool weather, maybe not super cold weather where you need really warm socks, but I've been surprised at how well they do in hot weather. The ones I have now are starting to wear out, but they've lasted longer than any other socks I've had. I wanted to replace them, but they don't have the same ones anymore. They've changed them, and I'm not sure I like the new ones. I think they're a thicker material, and I found them to be a little too hot. It's not even summer yet, and I'm finding them to be a little bit hot. Maybe that's because the old style I had wore down so much that I'm comparing the wore out ones to the new ones, but I think they're different, and I'm not sold on them. I started wearing some Carhartt socks that I had up in the cupboard that somebody gave me years ago. They were polyester. One of the problems with polyester socks is they can be slick. And working in steep terrain, I don't like slick socks because it feels like my foot is sliding around inside the boot. Well-fitting boots, there's not much room to slide, but if I'm on a steep hillside, it feels like all my weight is pushing into the side wall of the boot. Whereas if I have some socks with a little bit of friction, that friction keeps everything where it's supposed to be. A lot of the weight is pushing against the bottom of the sole of the boot instead of the leather. I also had some Carhartt cotton socks. I didn't like them at all. Now that my Kirkland socks are starting to wear out, I wanted to try some smart wool socks. I've heard good things about those, but it just happened a few weeks ago. The Camel Sock Company contacted me through the channel. They sent me an email asking if I would be willing to try a pair of their camel socks, which I thought was weird. I sent them an email back saying, thank you for the offer, but I don't think I can use your socks because I don't have a camel. I'm here in the Pacific Northwest and we typically don't have camels here. You might want to try somewhere like the Middle East, a part of the world where they have camels. And I told them, it's probably not my place to say this, but I think there's a flaw in your business model because I don't think camels wear socks. I'm no expert in camels or anything, but that's my opinion. Well, they wrote back fairly quickly and said, I think you're a little bit confused. We don't actually make socks for camels. Camel City Mill is just the name of our company. Well, after they put it that way, that made a whole lot more sense. I was starting to think, something wrong with these people. I started looking a little bit more into the product and I liked their story. I like a product that has a good story. A story better than, we found this sweatshop in this country over here that said they would make really cheap products for us. That is a common story with a lot of products now. I get contacted all the time by people wanting me to promote their products on my channel, but I just don't want to promote cheap junk. When they sent me the socks, they also put me on their newsletter. I get an email from them once in a while telling about their story. Every once in a while, some of their emails have a little bit of silly or cheesy humor in them. Not sure that's really my thing, but some people are really into that. It tells a little bit about their story, about how they use these old style looms. I think they're hard to find now, but they don't only do what they normally do to the fiber, but they spin it at the same time, which creates a very durable fiber. They're so confident about that, they're offering a 10-year guarantee on them. That's nice. They're made in America by American wool, grown by American sheep. I don't know if the sheep are actually American citizens. Actually, they're probably not citizens because they're sheep, but the sheep grow up in America and live in America, and they make American wool. Yeah, America. Made in America. I like their story. I had high hopes for these. I've tried them a few times, but what would happen is I'd put my socks on, put my boots on, and go about my day, and I would forget to pay attention to my socks. I would just wear them all day and not even notice them. Maybe that's a good sign. I didn't even notice the socks I was wearing. I've only been able to try them a few times because they only sent me one pair. Hint, hint, they only sent me one pair. So between laundry cycles, I haven't had that many times to test them out. I haven't had enough time to really give them a full endorsement, but so far, so good. And what I do like is they are high enough to rise up above my boots and they don't slide down. That's a good thing. I will put a link in the description so you can check these out. They're not paying me right now to say this, but they did say they will give me a commission if somebody buys socks through that link. So I do have a little bit of an incentive to promote these socks. But if I decide I don't like them, I will let you know. But these socks are not cheap socks, but when you spend $500–600 on a pair of boots, do we really want to cheap out on our socks? The socks are the part that are actually in contact with our feet. Cheap socks and expensive boots. Maybe that makes sense. Well, that's socks. I could get into why I don't like wearing steel-toed boots. I'm not sure if I want to open that can of worms though. I'm gonna have to decide if I want to do a video on that or not. But I don't wear steel-toe boots. A lot of real loggers, real timber fallers, they wear cork boots, the type that have the metal spikes on the bottom. Helps give them more traction on slick surfaces. But I just like using the regular Vibram or Vibram lug soles, the star and bar pattern. Did I just make that up, the star and bar pattern? Or did I hear that somewhere? I don't know, but I'm going to pretend that's mine. I made it up. But for today, I think that's enough about footwear. Now that the snow is mostly melted, I can start getting back to work. I can start making videos again. Guess that's it. See you soon.